A little girl waited, staring at 25 empty chairs. Not one classmate showed up. Her smile faded, her whispered question cut like glass. "Mom, why doesn't anyone want to come?" But just as hope was lost, the elevator doors opened. A single father wheeled in his daughter, and behind them a flood of 50 kids in wheelchairs. The room erupted with laughter, music, and friendship like never before. What begins as a lonely party turns into a life-changing moment of truth. A powerful mother faces the one battle she cannot win, with money alone learning what her daughter truly needs. But when her empire and reputation are threatened, will she sacrifice it all for love, belonging, and hope? Or lose everything that really matters? Because sometimes the greatest victories are born from heartbreak. So, what happens when love collides with power and one lonely birthday changes everything? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The Manhattan skyline glittered beyond floor-to-ceiling windows as Rachel Morgan adjusted another balloon cluster for the third time. Her Louboutins clicked against marble floors while she directed the caterer toward the kitchen island. The sandwiches go on the left tier, fruit on the right. Her phone buzzed against her hip. She ignored it. "And make sure the juice boxes stay chilled until, Mrs. Morgan, where should we set up the face-painting station?" A young assistant clutched an iPad, stylus poised. Rachel surveyed the penthouse's vast living room. Every surface gleamed. Pink and purple streamers cascaded from the chandelier. The custom cake, a 4-tier castle complete with fondant turrets, commanded the dining table like an edible monument to her planning skills. By the window, natural light works best for photos. She'd left nothing to chance. 25 invitations hand-delivered to Emily's classmates at Preston Academy. RSVP confirmations logged in her spreadsheet. Party favors assembled in silk bags worth more than most people's weekly groceries. "Mom?" Emily wheeled herself from the hallway, blonde curls bouncing. Her dress selected after 3 shopping trips matched the party's color scheme perfectly. Rachel's chest tightened at how small her daughter looked in the chrome wheelchair, how the dress pooled around legs that hadn't moved in 5 years. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." Emily's fingers traced the wheel's rims. "Do you think Sophia will like the crafts table? She loves making bracelets. She'll love it." Rachel smoothed Emily's hair, then checked her Cartier watch. 2:58. "Your friends will be here soon." The doorman had instructions to send everyone straight up. Rachel had even arranged valet parking for the parents, though most would have drivers waiting downstairs. Emily positioned herself near the entrance, hands folded in her lap. The anticipation on her face made Rachel's stomach flutter. This had to work. After months of turned-down playdates and Emily eating lunch alone, this party would change everything. 3 o'clock arrived. The elevator remained silent. Rachel's phone vibrated again. She silenced it without looking. The merger documents could wait. Today belonged to Emily. "Maybe they're stuck in traffic," Emily offered at 3:05. "Of course. Saturday traffic's always terrible." The caterer arranged finger foods on crystal platters. The face painter tested her brushes on her own hand. The photographer Rachel had hired adjusted his lens settings for the 100th time. 3:10. Emily's shoulders had dropped half an inch. She kept glancing between the door and the untouched cake, its candles waiting to be lit. Rachel pulled out her phone, scrolling through parent contact numbers. Margaret Chen had confirmed Thursday. The Petersons promised both twins would attend. "Should we start without them?" Emily's voice carried forced brightness. "The ice cream might melt. Let's wait a few more minutes." But Rachel's fingers flew across her phone screen, composing texts with barely contained panic. "Running late? Emily's so excited to see Sophia." "Send. Hope you're finding parking okay." "Send." 3:15. The assistant approached, iPad clutched against her chest. "Mrs. Morgan, should we give them time?" The words came out sharper than intended. Emily had wheeled herself to the window. She pressed one palm against the glass, watching taxis and town cars stream past 40 floors below. The city moved on, oblivious to a little girl's crumbling hope. Rachel's phone lit up. Finally, she snatched it, expecting apologies and arrival times. So sorry. Madison woke up with strep throat. Rain check? Barbara, another message appeared. Carter has a tournament, forgot to update calendar. Happy birthday to Emily, Jim Peterson. Then another. In the Hamptons for the weekend. Must have mixed up dates. Margaret, the lies stacked up like bodies. Rachel's hand trembled. Strep throat didn't strike 3 children simultaneously. Tournaments didn't materialize overnight. Nobody forgot dates they'd confirmed 48 hours ago. Mom? Emily had turned from the window. Are they coming? Rachel's throat constricted. All her negotiation tactics, her boardroom victories, her ability to close impossible deals, none of it mattered now. She couldn't force children to celebrate her daughter. Couldn't leverage friendship like a hostile takeover. There might be a delay. Emily nodded, fingers white where they gripped the wheelchair arms. It's okay. We can eat cake ourselves. The penthouse felt cavernous. 25 place settings mocked them from the dining table. The balloon arch framed nothing but empty space. Even the caterers had gone quiet, pretending to reorganize platters that didn't need reorganizing. 3:20. Rachel knelt beside Emily's chair, designer dress be damned. How about we play some games while we wait? I wanted to play with friends. The words came out small, wounded. Emily's eyes shimmered. Mom, why doesn't anyone want to come? The question hung between them like a blade. Rachel had no answer that wouldn't shatter what remained of her daughter's hope. She pulled Emily close, feeling the girl's shoulders shake with suppressed sobs. The photographer lowered his camera. The face painter began packing her supplies. 3:25. The elevator chimed. The elevator doors slid open to reveal the building's concierge, arms full of delivered packages. More birthday presents, Mrs. Morgan. Rachel's smile cracked like thin ice. Thank you, Marcus. Just put them with the others. Emily's face had lifted for those 3 seconds between the chime and the door's opening. Now she sank back into her wheelchair, fingers twisting the party favor she'd been saving to share. Should we start the music? The DJ, hired for 200 kids' songs and dance games, hovered by his equipment. Rachel nodded. What else could she do? Cheerful pop music filled the penthouse. It echoed off marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows, making the emptiness somehow louder. The balloon artist approached Emily with professional enthusiasm, twisting a poodle from pink rubber. Emily accepted it with a polite thank you that belonged in a boardroom, not a birthday party. 3:30 became 4 o'clock. Rachel's phone burned in her hand as she placed call after call, retreating to the kitchen so Emily wouldn't hear the desperation creeping into her voice. Linda? It's Rachel Morgan. We're just wondering if Ava... Oh, Rachel, I'm so sorry. She came down with something sudden, stomach bug going around. But she was at school yesterday. Emily said they ate lunch. Togath must have hit her this morning. Give Emily our best. The line went dead. Rachel dialed another number. Then another. Food poisoning from last night's sushi. Grandparents surprised us with a visit. Car trouble on the highway. Each excuse flimsier than the last. Rachel could negotiate billion-dollar deals, read lies in conference rooms, but she'd missed this. The other mothers had coordinated their stories just enough to avoid overlap. She found Emily by the craft table, mechanically stringing beads onto elastic cord. The face painter had given up, painting butterflies on her own arms to pass time. The magician pulled scarves from his sleeve for an audience of hired staff. Sweetheart, should we have some cake? Emily shook her head. Not yet. Maybe someone's still coming. 4:30. The caterers began covering dishes. Finger sandwiches curled at the edges. The chocolate fountain ran like a monument to waste. Rachel wanted to scream, to call every parent back and demand the truth she already knew, that their children had refused to attend a paralyzed girls' party, and they'd let them. Emily wheeled herself to the dining table where 25 place cards bore her classmates' names in careful calligraphy. She touched each one like a rosary of rejection. Sophie, Madison, Carter, Ava. Names of children who'd never given her a chance. "The cupcakes look pretty," Emily said. They did. 3 dozen of them, each decorated with a different design: rainbows, unicorns, soccer balls for the boys who wouldn't come. Emily picked one up, examined the perfect frosting, then set it down untouched. The DJ had shifted to ambient background music. Even he understood the party atmosphere had flatlined. The photographer snapped a few shots of the empty venue, perhaps for Rachel's inevitable lawsuit against someone, anyone, for this cruelty. 5 o'clock. "Mom?" Emily's voice carried across the hollow celebration. "Why doesn't anyone want to come?" The question landed like a physical blow. Rachel crossed to her daughter, abandoning her phone mid-text to yet another lying parent. "Oh, sweetheart, is it because of my chair?" Emily's eyes remained dry, which was somehow worse than tears. "Or because I can't play tag at recess?" Rachel's throat closed. Every word she'd prepared about traffic, about scheduling conflicts, about anything but the truth, dissolved. She knelt beside Emily's wheelchair, taking those small hands in hers. "Some people don't understand how special you are. I just wanted friends." Emily's composure finally cracked, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I wanted someone to want to come." Rachel pulled her daughter close, feeling her own tears threaten. All her success, her fortune, her power worthless. She couldn't buy Emily acceptance, couldn't negotiate friendship, couldn't hostile take over her way into birthday party attendance. "Let's open presents," Rachel suggested, voice artificially bright. "Just you and me." They moved to the living room, Rachel dismissing the entertainers with generous tips and apologetic smiles. The photographer packed his equipment. The DJ powered down. Soon, only the catering staff remained, quietly clearing evidence of the party that wasn't. Rachel pulled gifts from the pile, all from relatives, business associates, her assistant, nothing from classmates. They opened each one together, Rachel narrating enthusiasm Emily couldn't feel. "Look, Aunt Catherine sent art supplies." Emily nodded, mechanical. "And here's that robotics kit you wanted." Another nod. Outside, Manhattan transformed into evening. Lights began twinkling across the skyline, each window representing lives moving forward while they sat frozen in their beautiful prison of marble and rejection. "I'm tired," Emily finally said. It was barely 6 o'clock, but Rachel understood. The weight of loneliness exhausted more than any physical activity could. "Of course, sweetheart." As Rachel wheeled Emily toward her bedroom, they passed the untouched cake. 10 candles waited to be lit. Wishes waited to be made. The castle towers crafted from fondant and dreams stood perfect and pointless. Rachel forced her smile to hold, pressed her shoulders back into the posture of success. But inside, she felt herself crumbling like old concrete. She'd failed at the one job that truly mattered, protecting her daughter's heart. The penthouse settled into darkness, 25 empty chairs standing vigil over the death of a little girl's hope. The doorbell's chime cut through the penthouse's funeral quiet. Rachel froze, her hand on Emily's wheelchair handles. The caterers had already begun loading their van. Who would arrive 3 hours late? "I'll get it," she said, though Emily hadn't moved. The doorbell rang again, followed by muffled voices, many voices. Rachel's heels clicked across marble as she approached the door, confusion mixing with fading hope. She opened it to find a man in worn jeans and a Yankees cap, his hands gripping a child's wheelchair. The girl inside beamed up at Rachel, gap-toothed and radiant. "Mrs. Morgan?" The man's voice carried warmth despite her confusion. "I'm Daniel Harper. This is my daughter Lily." Behind them, the hallway stretched impossibly full. Children in wheelchairs lined the corridor, dozens of them, clutching balloons and handmade cards. Some chairs were manual, others electric. Some children had braces, others prosthetics. All of them craned to see past Daniel. "Is this Emily's party?" Lily asked, bouncing in her seat. "We made her cards." Rachel's mouth opened but produced no sound. Her corporate training hadn't prepared her for this. "May we come in?" Daniel asked. "I know we're late, but traffic from Brooklyn." "Who? How did you?" "Mary Chen, the social worker at Mount Sinai. She mentioned Emily's party when she heard about our league. Said maybe Emily would like some friends who get it." He gestured to the crowd behind him. "These are my kids from the wheelchair basketball program. When they heard about a birthday girl who needed celebrating, nothing could stop them coming." A boy near the front held up a card covered in glitter. "We all signed it." Rachel stepped aside, movements automatic, as the parade began. They rolled in like a tide of joy, children aged 6 to 16, some pushing themselves, others helped by siblings or parents who'd driven them. The silent penthouse erupted with voices. "Whoa, look at this place. Is that a chocolate fountain? Mom, they have a real DJ." Emily appeared in the living room doorway, her eyes widening as child after child streamed inside. Lily Harper rolled straight up to her. "You're Emily. Happy birthday. I'm Lily. Want to see something cool?" Without waiting for an answer, Lily popped a wheelie, balancing on her back wheels. Several other kids cheered and attempted their own tricks. "How?" Emily's voice came out, whispered. "Practice," Lily grinned. "I'll teach you. First, though." She produced a card from her lap, handmade with construction paper and markers. "This is from me specially. I drew us playing basketball together." Emily took the card with trembling hands. In crayon, 2 girls in wheelchairs shot hoops, smiling stick figures under a rainbow. The penthouse transformed. What had been a mausoleum of failed expectations became alive with laughter. Children discovered the craft table, the dance floor, the abandoned games. The DJ, who'd been packing up, quickly resumed his station as kids called out song requests. "Mrs. Morgan." Daniel appeared beside Rachel, who stood frozen by the door. "I hope this is okay." Mary said Emily was having a rough time at school. Rachel watched her daughter, surrounded now by 3 girls comparing their different wheelchair models. Emily's face glowed with something Rachel hadn't seen in years, belonging. "I don't understand. These children don't even know her." "They know what it's like," Daniel said simply. "Every kid here has sat alone at lunch, been picked last or not at all, had parties where people didn't show." He watched Lily, teaching Emily to spin her chair. They wouldn't miss a chance to change that for someone else. A boy with leg braces crutched over to the chocolate fountain, eyes wide. "Can we really have some?" "Everything," Rachel managed. "Have everything." The caterers, who'd been heading for the elevator, quickly reversed course. Within minutes they were serving cake and sandwiches to eager hands. The face painter found herself swarmed with requests. The magician performed for an audience that gasped at every trick. "Mom, look," Emily called out. She'd managed a small wheelie, just lifting her front casters off the ground. Lily and 2 other girls cheered like she'd won Olympic gold. Rachel's throat tightened. In 15 minutes, these strangers had given Emily what Rachel's money never could: genuine acceptance. "Come on, birthday girl." A teenage boy with one arm called from the dance floor. "Let's see your moves." The DJ cranked up something upbeat. Children rolled onto the floor, some spinning, others just swaying to the rhythm. Lily grabbed Emily's hands, pulling her into the center. "Watch this." Lily spun 3 times fast, her braids flying. "Now you try." Emily attempted a spin, awkward but determined. When she managed 1 full rotation, the entire room erupted in applause. Her laugh, pure, unconscious, free, filled the penthouse. Daniel moved through the crowd, checking on his kids, helping younger ones with their plates. He lifted a small girl from her chair to reach the craft table, then settled her back with practiced ease. "You run the league alone?" Rachel asked, finding her voice. "Mostly. Some parents help when they can. We practice Saturdays at the community center." He smiled as Lily and Emily raced their chairs around the coffee table, other kids cheering them on. You should bring Emily sometime. On the dance floor, someone had started a wheelchair conga line. Emily was third in line, gripping the chair ahead, while another child held hers. They wove between furniture, laughing at near misses with walls. Rachel noticed the gifts from earlier expensive electronics and designer toys abandoned in the corner. Emily hadn't looked at them once since the doorbell rang. Instead, she clutched Lily's handmade card like treasure. "Birthday cake time," Lily announced, and the children converged on the dining table. Emily's eyes shone as 50 voices began singing "Happy Birthday," not one of them pitying or forced. These children sang like they meant it, like birthdays were victories worth celebrating. The wheelchair dance-off erupted spontaneously when someone cranked the music louder. Lily struck a pose, one arm raised, chair tilted back on 2 wheels. "Beat that, birthday girl!" Emily laughed, attempting her own move, a jerky spin that sent her slightly off balance. The other kids whooped anyway. "My turn." A boy with cerebral palsy rolled forward, managing a surprisingly smooth figure-8 pattern across the marble floor. The living room became an arena. Children took turns showing off whatever they could manage, some just wiggling in place, others performing elaborate routines. No one kept score. Every attempt earned cheers. Rachel stood against the wall, watching her daughter's transformation. Emily, who usually hunched forward in public spaces, sat tall now, shoulders back, voice carrying across the room as she called out encouragement to a shy girl attempting her first spin. "Pizza's here," Daniel announced from the doorway, and the dance floor cleared in seconds. The caterers had left, but Daniel had ordered from a local place simple cheese and pepperoni, paper plates instead of china. The kids attacked the boxes with enthusiasm Rachel's elaborate spread hadn't generated. "This is the best party ever," a girl with leg braces told Emily through a mouthful of cheese. "Really?" Emily's voice held wonder. "Are you kidding? Pizza, dancing, and no weird adults trying to make us play boring games?" She gestured with her slice. "Plus, your place is huge. Watch this." She took off across the floor, crutches swinging wide, covering the distance from dining room to windows in seconds. "That would take me forever at home." Emily giggled, a sound Rachel realized she hadn't heard in months. In the corner, 3 boys had discovered Emily's abandoned robotics kit, a $500 set still in its box. They'd opened it without asking, but Emily just rolled over to join them, explaining the instructions she'd memorized but never tried. Daniel appeared at Rachel's elbow. "You okay?" She gestured at the chaos pizza boxes stacked on her Italian marble counter, wheelchair tracks across her Persian rug, children's fingerprints on her floor-to-ceiling windows. "My housekeeper will quit." "That's not what I asked." Rachel watched Emily help the boys sort tiny parts, her face animated with purpose. "I spent $12,000 on this party. I spent $40 on pizza." The comparison stung, but not the way Rachel expected. She felt foolish rather than insulted, like someone who'd brought a tank to a water balloon fight. "They don't care about the money," Daniel continued, voice gentle. "Kids like ours, they just want to belong somewhere. Emily needed friends, not entertainers. Kids like ours?" Rachel's defensive instinct flared. "Kids who know what it's like to be different. To have people stare, or worse, look away." He nodded toward the living room where Lily was teaching Emily to play wheelchair tag, using furniture as obstacles. Lily came home crying last month because her teacher suggested she skip the field trip. "Too complicated," she said. "These kids get it." Rachel watched Emily dart behind the couch, laughing as another child tried to catch her. Her designer dress had pizza sauce on it. Her carefully styled hair had come loose. She'd never looked happier. "I thought if I gave her everything, you can't buy her way into normal. Trust me. I tried that too, first year after the accident." Daniel's expression softened. "Took me a while to learn that different doesn't mean less. Just means finding your people takes more work." Across the room, someone had started a game of wheelchair limbo using a pool cue. Emily went under backwards, nearly tipping but catching herself. The kids roared approval. "How low can you go?" they chanted. Rachel found herself smiling despite the tightness in her chest. She's never done anything like this. She's never had the chance. Her school friends, they probably don't mean to be cruel. They just don't know how to act around her. But these kids? Daniel gestured to the group. To them, she's just Emily. Not the girl in the wheelchair, not the one who's different. Just a kid who likes robots and can almost do a wheelie. The party wound down as parents arrived, some walking with canes, others signing to children who signed back, one mother with her own wheelchair. They thanked Rachel for hosting, as if she'd done something special, instead of watching her failed party get rescued. "Come Saturday," Lily told Emily, hugging her goodbye. "I'll teach you to shoot hoops." "Really?" "Duh, you're my friend now." The simple declaration made Emily's eyes fill. She nodded, unable to speak. One by one, the children left, taking their handmade cards but leaving something indefinable behind, an energy that lingered in the penthouse air. Daniel was last to go, Lily already waiting by the elevator. "Thank you," Rachel said, meaning it more than any words she'd ever spoken in board meetings. "Thank Emily. She's got a good heart. Just needed to find others who could see it." After they left, Rachel helped Emily prepare for bed, listening to her daughter recount every moment, every friend's name, every promised Saturday adventure. Later, Rachel stood on her balcony, Manhattan glittering below. The city she'd conquered stretched endlessly, buildings like teeth against the sky. Her phone buzzed with emails about Monday's merger, tomorrow's conference call, quarterly projections. She let it ring. The penthouse felt different now, too large, too quiet, too perfect. The wheelchair tracks on her rug looked like paths to somewhere better than here. The pizza boxes in her kitchen seemed more honest than the untouched gourmet spread her caterers had salvaged. She'd given Emily everything money could buy. Daniel's kids had given her something priceless with construction paper and presents. The emptiness inside Rachel wasn't new, she realized. It had been there for years, hidden under achievements and acquisitions. The conference room smelled of leather and ambition. Rachel stood at the head of the polished table, laser pointer cutting through projections that promised 30% growth, 40 million in revenue, market domination by Q3. "Brilliant work, Rachel," Harrison said, his silver hair catching the light. "The Japanese partners will be impressed." She nodded, clicking through slides she'd perfected at 3 a.m., but the numbers blurred together. Where sharp focus usually lived, something else had taken root, the memory of Emily spinning in her wheelchair, arms outstretched, surrounded by children who understood her. "The liability concerns?" someone asked. Rachel answered on autopilot, her mouth forming words about risk mitigation, while her mind drifted to Daniel's calloused hands steadying a child's chair, teaching balance through play rather than PowerPoints. "You seem distracted," Margaret observed after the meeting, cornering Rachel by the elevator. "That's not like you." "Long night. The Whitman acquisition can't afford long nights." "We need you sharp." Rachel wanted to explain that sharpness felt different now, like a blade that had been cutting the wrong things. Instead, she smiled the smile that had closed $100 million deals. The elevator descended 40 floors, each number marking distance from what mattered. At home, Emily waited at the dinner table, homework spread around her plate. She'd drawn basketballs in the margins of her math worksheet. "How was school?" Rachel asked, settling into her chair. "Fine." They ate in near silence, forks against china the only sound. Rachel remembered last night's pizza chaos, how Emily had talked non-stop between bites, stories tumbling over each other about her new friends. "Mom?" Emily pushed peas around her plate. "Can I go Saturday? To the basketball thing with Lily?" Rachel's instinct was to protect, to cushion, to prevent any possibility of disappointment. "Sweetheart, I'm not sure that's—" "Please?" Emily looked up, and in her eyes lived a hunger. Rachel recognized not for food or toys or parties, but for belonging. Lily said she'd teach me to shoot, and there's this boy Marcus who can spin on one wheel, and Katie who's been playing since she was 6, and—" The names poured out, each one precious, each one a thread connecting Emily to something larger than their penthouse walls. "I'll think about it." Emily's shoulders dropped. She knew that phrase, had heard it before every gentle rejection, every well-meaning limitation placed around her life, like bubble wrap. "I promise I'll be careful," Emily whispered. "I won't get hurt." "You're already hurt," Rachel thought. "Every time you sit alone at lunch, every time they pick teams, and you're the remainder." "Let me talk to Mr. Harper first. Make sure it's appropriate." Emily nodded, but the light that had blazed yesterday dimmed to a flicker. She finished dinner in silence, excused herself for bed earlier than usual. Rachel cleaned the dishes herself, needing the ritual of hot water and soap, something concrete when everything else felt uncertain. Through the kitchen window, city lights sparkled like promises she wasn't sure she could keep. Her office called her back after Emily's light went out. Contracts to review, emails from Tokyo, preparations for tomorrow's presentation. This was her realm. Clean lines and clear objectives, success measured in signatures and stock prices. She worked until her eyes burned, but productivity felt hollow. Between spreadsheets, she found herself searching wheelchair basketball leagues online, watching videos of children racing down courts, shooting baskets, falling and getting up again. They looked so free. Her phone buzzed. An email from Emily's physical therapist, routine assessment attached. Emily shows physical improvement, but remains emotionally withdrawn during sessions. Recommend increase social interaction with peers. Peers. The word felt clinical, missing the point entirely. Emily didn't need peers. She needed Lily's fierce friendship, Marcus's spinning wheels, Katie's 6 years of experience. Rachel's gaze drifted to the photo on her desk, Michael in his hiking gear, taken 2 months before the accident. He'd been the adventurous one, always pushing boundaries while she built safety nets. After he died, she'd tried to be both the pusher and protector, but ended up being neither. "What would you do?" she asked his frozen smile. The answer came immediately, not in words, but in memory. Michael tossing toddler Emily in the air, her squeals of delight mixing with Rachel's protests about safety. "She needs to fly, Rach, even if it means she might fall." Emily hadn't flown in 5 years. Not since the accident that took her legs and her father in one violent instant. Rachel pulled up Daniel Harper's contact, the social worker had provided it, and started typing an email. Deleted it. Started again. Every version sounded too formal, too much like a merger negotiation. Finally, she wrote simply, "Emily wants to play. When and where?" His response came within minutes, as if he'd been waiting. "Saturday, 9 a.m., Lincoln Community Center. Bring water and watch her soar." Rachel stared at that last word. Soar. Such confidence in Emily's potential, from a stranger who'd known her one evening. The photo of Michael seemed to watch her, challenging her to choose. The safe path stretched ahead. Private tutors, controlled environments, protection from all possible harm. The other path led to community centers and public courts, to falling and getting up, to belonging earned through sweat rather than birthright. Outside, the city never slept, always climbing toward something more. Rachel wondered if she'd been climbing the wrong mountain all along. Saturday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth for October. Rachel helped Emily into their town car, the driver already programmed with directions to Lincoln Community Center. Emily wore her favorite purple shirt, the one she'd hidden in her closet for months, saving it for something special that never came. "You remembered your water bottle?" "Yes, Mom." Emily clutched a small gym bag, packed and repacked since Thursday. The community center squatted between a laundromat and a check-cashing store, its brick facade decorated with fading murals of children playing. Rachel's heels clicked against cracked pavement as she pushed Emily's chair through doors that groaned with age. The gym hit them with a wall of sound wheels squeaking against polished wood, balls bouncing. children shouting plays and jokes. 20 kids raced across the court in organized chaos, their chairs extensions of their bodies. More children waited on sidelines, cheering and strategizing. "Emily, you came!" Lily rolled up fast, executing a perfect stop that sprayed Emily with the gym's particular perfume of rubber and determination. "Come on, we're doing layup drills." Emily glanced back at Rachel, seeking permission that had already been granted by their presence. "Go ahead, sweetheart." Lily grabbed Emily's chair handles without asking a presumption that would have triggered Rachel's protective instincts if not for Emily's delighted laugh. They rolled toward the court together, Emily's nervousness melting under Lily's confident lead. "First time?" Rachel turned to find a woman in a faded army t-shirt, her prosthetic leg visible below cargo shorts. "Yes, I'm Rachel, Emily's mother. Maria." "That's my boy Marcus out there, the one showing off." She pointed to a kid spinning his chair in tight circles while dribbling. "Been coming here 3 years now. Changed his whole life." Other parents drifted over, introducing themselves with the easy warmth of people who'd found their tribe. There was James, whose daughter Katie had spina bifida. Patricia, raising her grandson after a car accident. Tom, a Vietnam vet who volunteered despite having no children of his own. "Your Daniel's been a godsend," Patricia said, watching Daniel adjust a child's chair position for better shooting form. "Most people see our kids as broken. He sees them as athletes." Rachel watched Daniel work patient corrections, high fives for effort, gentle challenges to push harder. He moved among the children like a conductor, drawing out each one's particular music. "Emily, catch!" A ball flew toward Emily. She fumbled it, the weight unexpected, but Lily was there immediately. "Like this push from your chest, follow through with your fingers." Emily tried again. The ball arced wildly, missing the basket by feet, but 3 kids cheered anyway. "Nice power," Marcus called. "Work on aim later." The practice continued for 90 minutes. Rachel expected Emily to tire, to retreat when things got difficult. Instead, she watched her daughter fail and try again, fall behind and push to catch up, miss shots and line up for more. "She's a natural," Tom observed. "Got that hunger. Can't teach that." When Daniel finally called time, children rolled toward the sidelines, sweaty and satisfied. Emily's face glowed with exertion and something else, pride maybe, or the simple joy of being included without conditions or accommodations. "Mom, did you see? I made 1 basket." It was from really close, but it counted. "I saw everything." Rachel smoothed Emily's damp hair. "You were wonderful." Daniel approached, wiping his forehead with his sleeve. "She did great, real coachable. You should bring her regular Saturdays and Wednesdays if you can." "Please, Mom?" Emily's hands found Lily's, their fingers intertwining with the instant intimacy of children who'd found their person. "We'll make it work." Daniel gestured toward a storage room. "Let me grab their waters. You can see our equipment situation while we're back there." The storage room smelled of old rubber and ambition. Wheelchairs in various states of repair lined one wall. Basketballs with worn surfaces filled mesh bags, protective gear held together with duct tape and prayer. "We make do," Daniel said, pulling water bottles from a cooler held shut with bungee cords. "Community fundraisers, some small donations. The kids don't complain." Rachel picked up a basketball, its surface smooth where grip should be. How much would new equipment cost? For everyone? Proper chairs, safety gear, balls, portable hoops for outdoor practice? Daniel calculated. Maybe 30,000, but that's dream territory. We're grateful for what we have. The number was nothing to Rachel, a rounding error in her quarterly budget, less than she'd spent on Emily's unused playground equipment. She thought of Maria's boy spinning in his patched-together chair, of Katie shooting with a ball that barely bounced, of Emily's face when she'd made that single basket. "I'll fund it. All of it." Daniel stopped mid-reach for another water bottle. "Rachel, that's... You don't have to. I want to." These kids deserve proper equipment. She thought of her boardroom's leather chairs, each worth more than Daniel probably made in a month. "Let me do this." His expression cycled through surprise, suspicion, and finally cautious hope. The kids would be over the moon. "But, Rachel, this isn't necessary for Emily to belong here." "I know." And she did know, had watched Emily earn her place through effort and enthusiasm, not money. This isn't about buying anything. It's about contributing. The ride home hummed with Emily's stories, her words tumbling over themselves in excitement. She still clutched Lily's friendship bracelet, rough twine, and plastic beads that Emily treated like precious stones. Rachel smiled at her daughter's joy, already mentally organizing the equipment purchase, unaware that her good intentions would soon collide with a world that preferred its charity distant and its CEOs focused solely on profit. The following Wednesday arrived faster than Rachel expected. Emily had counted down the days, marking each one on her calendar with basketball stickers Lily had given her. "Hurry, Mom, we'll miss warm-ups." Rachel had never seen Emily move so fast, propelling herself toward the gym entrance with determination. Inside, children already circled the court, passing balls in a rhythm that looked chaotic but held its own logic. "Emily!" Multiple voices called out. Marcus waved. Katie pointed to an open spot in the circle. Emily rolled straight in, catching a pass from Tom's grandson without hesitation. "She's different already," Daniel observed, appearing beside Rachel. More confident. Rachel watched Emily fumble a pass, laugh at herself, and try again. At school, she apologizes for existing. Here she's just Emily, not the girl in the wheelchair. Just Emily who needs to work on her left-hand dribble. Daniel blew his whistle. "All right, Tigers, let's run plays." For the next hour, Rachel witnessed transformation. Emily missed more shots than she made, got tangled up during defensive drills, and once accidentally rolled over Marcus's foot. But she also successfully completed 3 passes, blocked 1 shot through pure determination, and executed a pick that freed Lily for a clean basket. "Your mom's got instincts," Daniel told Rachel during a water break. "She's thinking 2 plays ahead. That's rare." The practice ended with a scrimmage. Emily's team lost by 12 points, but when the final whistle blew, she pumped her fists like they'd won the championship. "Mom, did you see when I stole the ball from Alex? He's been playing for 2 years. You were amazing, sweetheart." Daniel gathered the kids. "Good work today. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard," they chorused. "That's right. Now, who's hungry?" Rachel surprised herself by speaking up. "Actually, if it's okay, I'd like to treat everyone to burgers." "My treat." The children erupted in excitement, but Daniel hesitated. "Rachel, that's generous, but please, let me do this." The burger joint 2 blocks away had wide aisles and booth seating that accommodated wheelchairs. Rachel had called ahead, and they'd pushed tables together to create one long celebration. "Order whatever you want," Rachel announced, causing several kids to exchange disbelieving looks. "Even milkshakes?" Katie asked. "Especially milkshakes." The conversation flowed easier than any board meeting Rachel had ever run. Marcus wanted to be a computer programmer, like Stephen Hawking but cooler. Katie dreamed of becoming a veterinarian because animals don't care if you're in a chair. Tom's grandson, Alex, planned to design wheelchairs that could climb stairs. "What about you, Lily?" Rachel asked. "I'm going to be a teacher," Lily declared, stealing one of Emily's fries, "but also play basketball in the Paralympics." "She could do it," Daniel said quietly. "She's that good." Emily listened with shining eyes, absorbing their dreams like permission to have her own. "I want to be an artist," she said suddenly. "Is that stupid?" "Why would that be stupid?" Marcus asked, genuine confusion in his voice. Because I can't stand at an easel?" The table went quiet for a moment. Then Katie snorted. Frida Kahlo painted from her bed. Chuck Close paints from his wheelchair. "You think they're stupid?" Emily shook her head quickly. Then you're not stupid either, Lily said firmly. Besides, you drew that picture of Daniel's terrible haircut perfectly. Hey, Daniel protested, running a hand through his admittedly shaggy hair while the kids laughed. Rachel watched her daughter bloom under their casual acceptance. These children carried their own weight of medical appointments, surgeries, and stares from strangers. Yet here they sat, planning futures without asterisks or apologies. Mr. Harper says we're getting new equipment, Alex mentioned through a mouthful of burger. Really? Katie's eyes widened. Daniel shot Rachel a look. Nothing's confirmed yet, but if we did, Marcus said slowly, we could enter the regional tournament. The one with actual refs and everything. We'd get destroyed, Alex argued. So? We'd get destroyed in official uniforms, Lily countered, and they all laughed. The evening wound down with promises to see each other Saturday. Rachel helped load kids into various cars and vans, their parents thanking her repeatedly for dinner. You didn't have to do that, Daniel said as they watched the last van pull away. I wanted to. Rachel looked at Emily and Lily, heads bent together over Lily's phone, giggling at something. They're remarkable kids. They're just kids. People forget that sometimes. Later, tucking Emily into bed, Rachel noticed new drawings taped to the wall, basketball players in wheelchairs, all labeled with names from the team. Mom? Emily's voice was sleepy but content. Can we go to all the practices? We'll try our best. Good. Lily says I could make the tournament team if I practice hard enough. Rachel kissed her forehead. I'm proud of you. For what? For being brave, for trying new things. Emily yawned. It's easy when nobody thinks you're weird. The words followed Rachel to her own room, where she lay staring at tomorrow's merger documents. The papers that had once felt urgent now seemed lifeless, full of numbers that meant nothing compared to Emily's smile or Katie's dream of helping animals. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. Thanks again for dinner. The kids won't stop talking about it. Emily's got real potential. See you Saturday. Rachel set aside the merger documents and pulled up wheelchair equipment suppliers on her laptop instead. The quarterly projections could wait until morning. The Manhattan skyline gleamed through floor-to-ceiling windows of the 42nd floor boardroom. Rachel stood at the head of the polished mahogany table, her presentation remote steady in her hand, despite the churning in her stomach. Before we move to the Nexus merger details, I'd like to propose a corporate social responsibility initiative. Richard Blackstone, the senior board member with silver hair and calculating eyes, set down his Mont Blanc pen. This isn't on the agenda, Rachel. I know, but it's timely. She clicked to her first slide a photo from Emily's birthday, children in wheelchairs laughing around the cake. Morgan Industries has an opportunity to sponsor a wheelchair basketball league for disabled children. The room shifted. Some members leaned forward with interest while others checked their phones. The tax benefits alone make this worthwhile, Rachel continued, switching to financial projections. Plus, the positive PR during merger negotiations could soften our image. How much? How? Asked Jennifer Wu, the CFO. Initial investment of $200,000. New equipment, uniforms, gym rental for tournaments. That's not nothing, Richard said. It's a rounding error on our quarterly marketing budget. Board member Marcus Cole nodded thoughtfully. My nephew's in a wheelchair. Finding programs for him has been impossible. Exactly my point. We'd be filling a real need while we're trying to close a $3 billion merger? Richard interrupted. Nexus Tech isn't known for their patience or their sympathy. The timeline wouldn't interfere. Everything interferes at this level, Rachel. You know that. Richard's tone carried decades of boardroom battles. Nexus wants a lean, focused partner, not someone distracted by, he waved at the screen, basketball games. It's more than games, Rachel pressed. It's about community impact, about your daughter. The question landed like ice water. Richard's expression wasn't cruel, just matter of fact. Emily's involvement is coincidental. Is it? Jennifer Wu glanced between them. Rachel, we all sympathize with your situation, but personal interests can't drive corporate strategy. This isn't personal. Look at Nike's adaptive athlete campaigns, Microsoft's accessibility initiatives. Companies that embrace inclusion see stock prices rise. After the mergers are complete, Richard said firmly. Not during negotiations. Nexus specifically mentioned they want no surprises, no controversial initiatives that might affect valuation. Helping disabled children is controversial? Everything's controversial to someone. Marcus Cole spoke reluctantly, clearly torn. Richard's right about the timing. Maybe after the merger, these kids need help now. The room fell silent. Rachel realized she'd raised her voice. Board member Patricia Hayes, usually silent during meetings, cleared her throat. Perhaps we could approve a modest donation? 5,000? As a gesture? 5,000 won't buy 2 decent wheelchairs. Then table it, Richard said. Bring it back in 6 months when Nexus is signed and settled. Rachel looked around the table. Jennifer studied her laptop screen. Marcus wouldn't meet her eyes. Even Patricia, who'd tried to help, seemed to shrink into her chair. Motion to table? Richard asked formally. Seconded, Jennifer murmured. All in favor? Every hand except Rachel's rose. Motion carried. Now, about the Nexus terms. Rachel sank into her chair, the merger discussion washing over her like white noise. She contributed when called upon, her business instincts operating on autopilot while her mind stayed fixed on those raised hands. 5 years ago, she would have raised her hand too. The meeting dragged until 6. As members filed out, Marcus Cole lingered. Rachel, for what it's worth, I think it's a worthy cause. Just not worthy enough? He sighed. You know how this works. After Nexus, right, after Nexus. The elevator ride to the parking garage felt endless. Rachel sat in her BMW, engine running, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed a text from Daniel with a video of Emily successfully making a basket, Lily cheering beside her. At home, Emily rolled to greet her, face flushed with excitement. Mom, look. She held up her hands, palms red and raw from gripping the wheelchair rims. Lily says I'll get calluses soon. Real ones, like the other kids. Rachel knelt, gently examining the tender skin. Doesn't it hurt? Sure, but Tom says pain is just weakness leaving the body. Emily giggled. He got that from his grandpa, the Marine one. We should put something on these. No. Emily pulled her hands back. They're supposed to toughen up naturally. Katie's had hers for 3 years. She can open pickle jars and everything. Rachel watched her daughter wheel to the dinner table, chattering about practice drills and defensive strategies. The formal dining room felt too large, too empty, despite Emily's bright voice filling it. Daniel says if I keep improving, I might make the tournament team, not the starting lineup, but maybe bench. Bench would be amazing. It would be. You okay, Mom? You seem quiet. Rachel forced a smile. Long day at work. The merger thing? Among other things. Emily rolled closer, studying her mother with those perceptive eyes she'd inherited from her father. Did you ask about sponsoring the team? Rachel's heart clenched. How did you? Daniel mentioned you might. He told us not to get our hopes up, though. It's complicated. The timing isn't right. Oh. Emily's face fell for just a moment before she rallied. That's okay. We're doing fine with what we have. But Rachel heard what Emily didn't say, how the worn-out equipment limited their practice, how other teams had matching uniforms while they wore whatever they could find, how the good courts cost money they didn't have. Show me your hands again. This time Emily held them out proudly, like a carpenter showing off tools of the trade. Rachel pulled her daughter close, breathing in her shampoo and sweat and determination. I'm proud of you. For getting blisters? For not giving up? For finding where you belong? Emily hugged her back, then pulled away with renewed energy. Oh, Lily's mom is picking me up early Saturday. There's extra practice for anyone who wants to try for the tournament team. That's wonderful, sweetheart. As Emily headed to shower, chattering about defensive positions, Rachel stood alone in the dining room. Through the windows, Manhattan sparkled with its false promises of success. She thought about Richard's dismissive wave, Jennifer's averted eyes, her own hands raised in countless votes that prioritized profit over people. Her phone showed 17 emails about the Nexus merger. She deleted them unread and opened the wheelchair equipment website instead. The community center gym smelled like floor wax and determination. Rachel arrived early Saturday morning in jeans and sneakers, her designer handbag replaced by a canvas tote full of water bottles. Parents, setting up folding chairs, stopped mid-conversation when she walked in. "Mrs. Morgan?" Sandra, one of the mothers, nearly dropped the scoreboard she was carrying. "We didn't expect. Where do you need me?" Sandra blinked. The water station needs setting up? Table's over there." Rachel rolled up her sleeves and got to work. The table wobbled on uneven legs. She wedged paper towels under one side while arranging cups in neat rows. Tom's grandfather, a weathered Marine veteran named Frank, wheeled over with a cooler. "Heavy," he warned. "I've got it." Together they hefted the ice-filled cooler onto the table. Frank studied her with sharp eyes. "You're Emily's mother." "The CEO. Just another parent today." But his grunt sounded approving. More families arrived, children warming up on the court. Rachel helped arrange chairs along the sideline, swept debris from the playing area, even climbed a ladder to fix a drooping banner that read, "Every player counts." "Careful up there," Daniel called out, steadying the ladder. "Insurance doesn't cover CEO injuries. Good thing I'm off duty." She secured the banner and climbed down. Daniel's hand on her elbow stayed a moment longer than necessary. "Thank you for this. For fixing a banner. For showing up. For getting your hands dirty. The kids notice everything." Across the gym, Emily and Lily practiced passes. Emily's form had improved dramatically, her arms stronger, her movements more confident. When she saw her mother, she waved excitedly. "Mom, watch this." Emily executed a perfect chest pass to Lily, who caught it smoothly. "Beautiful," Rachel called back. The scrimmage began with Daniel refereeing. Rachel found herself gripping the bleacher edge as Emily took her position. The girl who once sat alone at birthday parties now called out plays, encouraged teammates, fought for position. 5 minutes in, Lily stole the ball and passed to Emily, who was open near the basket. Time seemed to slow. Emily gripped her wheels, pushing hard toward the hoop. A defender rushed toward her. Emily faked left, spun right, a move she'd practiced dozens of times, and shot. The ball arced through the air. Swish, the gym exploded. Parents leaped up, children pounded their armrests. Lily tackled Emily in a rolling hug. Rachel didn't realize she was crying until Sandra handed her a tissue. "First basket's always special," Sandra said softly. Rachel could only nod, watching Emily glow brighter than she had in years. The game continued with both teams playing their hearts out. No professional stakes, no scholarship scouts, just children reveling in movement and competition. When the final buzzer sounded, everyone had won something. As families packed up, Rachel helped dismantle the water station. The gym slowly emptied until only a few remained. Emily and Lily practiced trick shots at one end, while Rachel found herself sitting on the bleachers beside Daniel. "She's a different child," Daniel said, watching Emily attempt a backwards shot. 3 weeks ago, she would have given up after missing once. "You've given her something I couldn't. Something money can't buy. Community." Daniel's voice carried weight. "Though money for equipment wouldn't hurt." Rachel winced. "About that, Tom's grandfather told me you tried, that your board shot it down. How did he?" "Frank knows someone everywhere. Marine Network." Daniel smiled faintly. "I appreciate you trying." They sat quietly, watching their daughters. The late afternoon sun slanted through high windows, painting golden stripes across the court. How long has it been? Rachel asked softly. Since your wife? 4 years. Cancer took her when Lily was 6. Daniel's hands clasped loosely between his knees. Yours? 5 years. Car accident. The same one that... She gestured toward Emily. I'm sorry. Some days I still reach for his coffee mug, still buy his brand of cereal. Rachel surprised herself with the admission. Lily still sets a place for her mother on holidays. Says it's so she can be part of dinner conversation. That's beautiful. Faith helps, Daniel said carefully. Not pushing, just, it helps. Rachel shifted uncomfortably. I haven't been to church since the funeral. God's not confined to churches. You sound like my grandmother. Smart woman. They watched Emily finally make the backwards shot. Both girls shrieked with delight. They're good for each other, Daniel observed. Emily's never had a friend like Lily. Never had any real friends, honestly. Kids can be cruel about differences. Adults, too. Daniel turned to study her. Your board doesn't know what they're missing. Before Rachel could respond, 2 wheelchairs came speeding toward them. Mom! Emily's face shone with sweat and joy. Can Lily sleep over, please? We want to practice our defensive plays and watch the Warriors game and... Please, Dad, Lily added, bouncing in her chair. Rachel's immediate instinct was, no. Emily needed her medications precisely timed, her evening routine carefully managed, her yes. Everyone stared. Really? Emily breathed. Really. The girls erupted in celebration, immediately making plans. Daniel raised an eyebrow. You sure? Rachel thought of Emily's empty birthday party, of years spent hovering and protecting and isolating. I'm sure. As they gathered their things, Daniel touched her shoulder. Thank you, for today. For everything. Walking to the parking lot, Emily chattering nonstop about sleepover plans, Rachel felt something shift inside her chest. Not quite healing, not yet. But maybe, finally, the beginning of it. The penthouse hadn't heard this much laughter in years. Emily and Lily had transformed the living room into a fortress of blankets and pillows, their wheelchairs parked beside the couch like chariots. Popcorn kernels dotted the Persian rug, a sight that would have horrified Rachel 6 months ago. Now she simply smiled from the kitchen doorway. Truth or dare, Lily's voice carried across the room. Truth, Emily replied, giggling. Who's your crush? Lily, I don't have one. Liar, what about Marcus from the team? Emily shrieked, throwing a pillow. Both girls dissolved into laughter that rolled like waves through the apartment. Daniel stood beside Rachel, holding a mug of coffee she'd made him. Strange, having another adult here after Emily's bedtime. Strange, but not unwelcome. When's the last time she had a sleepover? He asked quietly. 3 years ago. Maybe 4. Rachel watched Emily's animated face. The other girls spent the whole time on their phones. Emily just sat there, trying to join conversations that moved too fast for her to follow. The Warriors game played on the massive TV, but the girls barely watched, too busy painting each other's nails in glittery purple. Emily dropped the brush twice, her hands less steady than Lily's, but her friend simply helped her without comment. Dad, we need more popcorn, Lily called. You've had 3 bowls already. Please? Daniel looked at Rachel, who shrugged. It's a sleepover. Rules don't apply. As he prepared another batch, Rachel noticed how naturally he moved through her kitchen. Most people seemed afraid to touch anything in the pristine space. Daniel just opened cabinets until he found what he needed. The microwave hummed. The girls whispered secrets, their heads close together. She's happy, Daniel said simply. I know. Rachel's voice caught. I'd forgotten what it looked like. By 11, both girls had crashed, curled together on the pull-out couch. Emily's arm draped over Lily's shoulder. The TV played quietly, forgotten. Rachel and Daniel cleaned up in comfortable silence, gathering popcorn kernels and folding abandoned blankets. When they finished, they found themselves on the kitchen stools, a fresh pot of decaf between them. 4 years, Rachel said suddenly. You said 4 years since your wife. Daniel nodded. Breast cancer. Fought it twice before it won. I'm sorry. Lily was so young. Sometimes I wonder if she really remembers her mother or just the stories I tell. The stories matter too. Sarah would have loved this. Seeing Lily help another kid find their strength. He smiled sadly. She was a pediatric nurse, always bringing home stories about brave children. Rachel traced the granite counter's pattern. The accident was my fault. Daniel waited. Not legally, but really. The words tumbled out, held back too long. We were arguing about another missed dance recital. I was driving, turned to tell him I couldn't keep choosing between work and family, that something had to give. Her hand clenched. A truck ran the red light, hit the passenger side. Michael died instantly. Emily, she gestured helplessly. The doctors said she was lucky. Lucky. As if anything about that day could be called luck. Rachel, I chose work. Every single time, I chose work. And then, I didn't even get to choose anymore. Daniel's hand covered hers on the counter. Warm, steady. Guilt's a peculiar companion, he said softly. Shows up uninvited, stays longer than it should. How do you manage it? The league helps. Watching kids who've lost more than I have still find joy. Lily helps most of all. He squeezed her hand gently. Seeing her choose happiness despite everything, it reminds me that Sarah wouldn't want us frozen in grief. Michael loved Saturday pancakes, Rachel whispered. Made them in ridiculous shapes. Dinosaurs, spaceships, once an entire alphabet. Emily would guess what they were supposed to be. Sarah sang in the shower, badly. Lily inherited her tone-deaf gene. They shared quiet laughter, then silence, then stories again. The clock ticked past midnight, past 1. Rachel couldn't remember the last time she'd talked like this. Not networking, not negotiating, just talking. I should go, Daniel said eventually, though he didn't move. Stay. The guest room's made up. No point in leaving just to come back for breakfast. He hesitated. The girls would love it. That decided him. As they parted in the hallway, something hummed between them. Not quite possibility, not yet, but maybe. Morning arrived with Emily's delighted squeal. Lily, he's making pancakes! Rachel found Daniel at her stove, creating lopsided butterflies out of batter while both girls directed from their chairs. The wing's too small, Emily protested. It's abstract art, Daniel defended. It's a blob, Lily announced. Rachel laughed, really laughed, and joined them. Together they produced an army of misshapen pancakes, attempted flowers, wonky hearts, something that might have been a basketball. The girls drowned everything in syrup, chattering about next week's practice. This was different. Her usual mornings consisted of rushed protein bars, Emily eating alone while Rachel answered emails. But here, now, with sticky fingers and bad jokes and Daniel stealing the last pancake, this felt like something she'd lost, something she'd forgotten to miss. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Then again. Then continuously. Rachel glanced at the screen. 17 missed calls. 43 unread messages. The merger. Singapore's counteroffer. Emergency board meeting in 2 hours. Mom? Emily noticed her expression change. Rachel looked at her daughter's worried face, at Lily's syrup-covered grin, at Daniel's quiet understanding. The phone kept buzzing. The corporate world demanding her return. But for just another moment, she let it wait. Rachel stood before the gymnasium's chalkboard, marker in hand. 20 parents and volunteers packed the bleachers, notebooks ready. Citywide tournament, 6 weeks, she announced. 16 teams, 3 age divisions, full media coverage. The room erupted. Parents who'd watched their children play in empty gyms for years suddenly saw possibility. Daniel caught her eye from the back row, his expression unreadable. Mrs. Morgan, that's ambitious, said Marcus, a veteran who coached the older kids. We've never done anything bigger than scrimmages. Then it's time we change that. Rachel uncapped her marker. I've already secured the Manhattan Sports Complex for the weekend of the 15th. 3 courts, professional referees, electronic scoreboards. Gasps rippled through the group. How? Someone asked. The complex's CEO owes me a favor. Rachel turned to the board, writing rapidly. Equipment donations from Sports Tech Industries. New wheelchairs, jerseys, protective gear. Media partnerships with Channel 7 and The Times. Catering from Blue Ribbon Events. She listed each commitment like battle victories. This was her element: strategy, execution, results. The kids deserve to be seen, she continued, not as objects of pity, but as athletes. What about entry fees? Asked a mother in worn jeans. None. Everything's covered. More gasps. Daniel shifted in his seat. Mrs. Morgan, he said carefully, this is generous, but no buts. Rachel's corporate voice emerged, commanding, these children have been invisible too long. I'm simply providing the platform they deserve. Emily wheeled herself forward, Lily beside her. The room fell silent. I want to captain a team, Emily announced, chin raised. The youngest division. Rachel's heart swelled. Her daughter, who once hid from school presentations, now volunteering for leadership. Me too, Lily added, co-captains. The girls high-fived, their enthusiasm infectious. Soon, other children were calling out team names, arguing over jersey colors, planning victory celebrations. Rachel watched Emily direct the conversation, delegating tasks to other kids, her voice strong and clear. When had her timid daughter become this confident leader? You're doing something special here, Marcus said, approaching after the meeting. These kids, they've never had anyone fight for them like this. They shouldn't have to fight at all, Rachel replied, watching Emily demonstrate a defensive move to younger children. That evening, Rachel traded her sneakers for Louboutins, her ponytail for a professional updo. The Morgan Industries quarterly gala demanded her presence. 500 of Manhattan's elite, celebrating another record-breaking profit year. She worked the room with practiced ease. Air kisses, firm handshakes, strategic conversations. The tournament came up naturally, woven between merger discussions and market projections. Brilliant PR move, said Harrison from legal. Disabled kids, corporate sponsorship, the optics are perfect for the Singapore deal. Rachel's smile never wavered, though something twisted in her stomach. Local news coverage? Asked Jennifer from marketing. We could leverage this for the annual report. Already arranged. Rachel accepted champagne from a passing waiter. The CFO, William Chen, clapped her shoulder. Smart thinking, Morgan. Show Singapore we're not just profit-driven. Though between us, I'm glad it's temporary. Can't have you going soft permanently. Laughter rippled through their circle. Rachel joined in, the sound hollow in her throat. She excused herself for the powder room, needing space. But voices from the smoking balcony stopped her. Completely lost it. Richard's voice carried through the cracked door. Wheelchair basketball? What's next? Puppy adoption drives? She's getting emotional, agreed Patricia from acquisitions. Ever since that birthday party fiasco, did you hear? Not one child showed up? Can you blame them? Nobody wants their kid around that kind of situation. The daughter's sweet enough, but really, dragging her everywhere in that chair, it's uncomfortable for everyone. Rachel's using this tournament thing to cope with guilt. Classic deflection. The board won't tolerate it much longer, especially if she keeps diverting resources. William's already documenting everything. If the Singapore deal fails because she's playing Mother Teresa, she'll be out before quarter's end. Good riddance. We need someone focused, not someone having a midlife crisis over their crippled kid. Rachel stood frozen. These people had smiled at her moments ago, praised her initiative. At least she's still closing deals, Patricia conceded, but this sentimental phase needs to end. It's embarrassing. Remember when she tried to bring the daughter to the Chicago conference? Security didn't even have wheelchair access. She actually asked us to change venues. More laughter. The tournament will flop, Richard predicted. Nobody wants to watch disabled kids fumble around a court. She'll realize that soon enough. Rachel backed away silently. In the bathroom mirror, her reflection showed nothing perfect makeup, steady hands, practiced smile. She'd learned long ago to hide hurt behind polish. Her phone buzzed. Emily had sent a video from home, her and Lily practicing passes in the living room, both girls giggling as the ball bounced off a lamp. "Mom, look, we're getting so good. Can't wait for the tournament. Love you." Rachel watched it 3 times, her throat tight. Then she straightened her dress, touched up her lipstick, and returned to the gala. "There she is," William called out. "We were just discussing your little project. All good things, I hope." Her smile was flawless. "Of course. Though we should discuss resource allocation on Monday." "Absolutely." She stayed another hour, playing her part perfectly. But when she finally climbed into her town car, she let the mask slip. The driver pretended not to notice her, wiping her eyes. At home, she found Emily asleep, tournament plans scattered across her bed. Diagrams of plays, lists of team members, a banner design reading, "We are champions." Rachel tucked the papers aside carefully, kissing her daughter's forehead. The tournament would happen. Let them mock her sentiment, let them document her distraction. She'd spent 10 years being exactly what they wanted: cold, calculating, profitable. Maybe it was time to be something else entirely. Tournament morning arrived with Manhattan's rare March sunshine. Rachel stood in the gym entrance, watching volunteers transform the space. Banners reading "Champions Roll Together" hung from rafters, news vans lined the parking lot, the bleachers, built for 200, somehow held 3 times that many. "Mom." Emily wheeled up, wearing her new jersey number 10, her age. "Lily's mom did our hair in team braids. Look." Rachel knelt, adjusting Emily's knee guards. "You ready for this?" "Been ready my whole life." The words hit deeper than Emily intended. Rachel kissed her forehead, tasting determination there. Daniel approached with his clipboard, his usual flannel replaced by a league polo shirt. "Opening ceremony in 5. You good?" "Never better." Their eyes held a moment too long. Then chaos resumed, photographers wanting shots, parents needing directions, children warming up. The tournament began with 40 teams from 5 states. Rachel had pulled every string, called every contact. Corporate sponsors' logos decorated the court. Professional referees volunteered their time. Even the mayor sent a video message. Emily's team, the Rolling Thunder, took the court for their first match. Rachel gripped the bleacher rail as Emily dribbled past 2 defenders, her chair spinning with practiced precision. "That's my daughter," she told anyone listening. The games blurred together, victories, defeats, tears, triumph. Children who'd been told they'd never play sports again flew across the court. Veterans missing limbs coached from sidelines. Parents who'd given up hope screamed themselves hoarse. Between matches, Rachel worked the crowd, thanking sponsors, charming reporters. But her eyes always found Emily, watched her grow stronger with each game. The semifinals arrived, Rolling Thunder versus Boston's Wheel Warriors. Emily took a hard collision, her chair tipping dangerously. Rachel half stood, but Emily righted herself, stealing the ball in the process. "She's tougher than she looks," Daniel said, appearing beside her. "Gets it from her father." "I doubt that." They watched Emily direct her team, calling plays, encouraging struggling players. When had she learned such leadership? The final match, Rolling Thunder against Philadelphia's Phoenix squad. The gymnasium fell silent as teams lined up, Emily at center court, gripping her wheels. The game exploded into motion. Both teams played with fury, the score seesawing. Rachel lost her corporate composure completely, shouting plays, arguing calls. Daniel laughed at her transformation. Final minute. Phoenix led by 2. Emily stole a pass, racing down court. The defense collapsed on her. She passed to Lily, who was immediately trapped. Back to Emily. 10 seconds. She faked left, spun right. 5 seconds. The ball left her hands as the defense lunged. Time stopped. The ball arced high, kissing the backboard, dropping through net as the buzzer screamed. The gym erupted. Emily raised both arms, tears streaming. Her team mobbed her. Parents flooded the court. Rachel pushed through the crowd, catching Emily as she literally threw herself from her chair into her mother's arms. "You did it, baby. You did it." "We did it, Mom." Rachel looked up, found Daniel watching them. His smile held something deeper than pride. Something that made her stomach flip despite the chaos. The celebration continued. Trophies, pictures, local news interviews. Emily glowed under the attention, her confidence radiating. Rachel climbed the makeshift stage, microphone in hand. The crowd settled. 2 months ago, my daughter sat alone at her birthday party. Today, she stands. Rachel caught herself. Today, she rises as a champion, surrounded by friends who see her strength, not her chair. Applause thundered. This tournament proves what's possible when we choose compassion over comfort, when we, Ms. Morgan. Jessica, her assistant, appeared at the stage edge, face pale. "You need to see this. Now." Rachel continued speaking, but Jessica climbed the stage, phone extended. The email's subject line, "Emergency Board Meeting, Misappropriation Investigation." The words blurred. "Unauthorized fund transfers. Sponsor contracts under review. Immediate cessation required. Ms. Morgan, they know about the discretionary fund reallocation," William Chen called the other board members. "They're meeting right now." The microphone picked up Jessica's whisper. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "The sponsors are already pulling back. 3 companies called in the last hour. The venue wants immediate payment, or they'll invalidate the rental." Rachel's hand trembled. Below, Emily demonstrated her winning shot for photographers, radiant with joy. "How much did you move?" Daniel's voice, behind her. Rachel turned. He'd heard everything. 50,000. From the marketing budget. "I was going to replace it with my bonus." "You stole from your company?" "No, I redirected funds." "There's a difference." "Is there?" "You used corporate money without permission." "That's what they'll say." "Daniel, I can't explain. They were right about you." His voice dropped, cold. "Richard mentioned you'd use us for good publicity. I defended you. Told him he didn't know you." "That's not what this is." "Then what is it?" "You needed a charity project to look good for your merger?" "You know that's not true." "Do I?" "You show up with cameras and corporate sponsors. You make my kids props in your PR campaign." "Your kids? What about Emily? She's never been happier." "Because you bought her friends?" The words hit like a physical blow. "That's not fair." "Neither is using children to save your reputation." Behind them, Emily called out, "Mom, they want a picture with you and Daniel." Rachel looked between her daughter's joy and Daniel's betrayal. Jessica held out another phone, the board demanding her immediate presence. Emily laughed with Lily, surrounded by cheering children. The sound should have been beautiful. Instead, it mocked everything crumbling around Rachel. The empire she'd built over 10 years, the trust she'd earned over 10 weeks, both dissolving in 10 seconds. "Mom?" Emily called again. Rachel stood frozen, microphone dead in her hand, watching everything shatter. The Mercedes glided through Manhattan traffic, its interior thick with unspoken weight. Emily bounced in her seat, her trophy clutched against her chest. "Did you see Lily's face when I made that shot? She screamed so loud." Emily demonstrated the spin move again, hands cutting through air. "And when Marcus blocked that huge kid from Phoenix, I thought he was going to cry, but then he just laughed. And Mom, are you listening?" "Of course, sweetheart." Rachel's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Her phone, face down in the cup holder, vibrated continuously. Each buzz another nail in her coffin. Coach Harper said, "I have natural court vision." What does that mean? Daniel's name sent fresh pain through Rachel's chest. The disgust in his eyes when he'd walked away, taking Lily's hand, not looking back. It means you see the whole game, not just your part. Like in business? Rachel's throat tightened. Yes, like in business. Emily launched into another replay, describing each teammate's contribution, the way the Phoenix squad had almost stolen victory, how scared she'd been with 5 seconds left. Rachel nodded at appropriate moments, her mind cycling through damage control scenarios. Would the board accept her resignation? Could she negotiate a quiet exit? What would happen to her equity, her reputation, Emily's future? Mom, why did Mr. Harper look upset? The question pierced through Rachel's spiral. He was just tired, baby. He didn't even say goodbye to me. Emily's excitement dimmed. Did I do something wrong? No, never think that. They pulled into the underground garage. Emily insisted on carrying her trophy herself, navigating her chair with one hand while balancing the golden figure. In the elevator, she studied their reflection in the mirrored doors. We look different. What do you mean? Happier, both of us, like we finally match. Rachel's eyes burned. In the penthouse, Emily refused dinner, too excited to eat. She called 3 different relatives to describe her victory, demonstrated the winning shot 4 more times, and finally crashed from exhaustion by 9 o'clock. Rachel carried her to bed, something she hadn't done in years, Emily's arm still wrapped around the trophy. Alone in her office, Rachel faced the avalanche. 17 emails from board members, 32 from various departments, 6 from reporters who'd somehow already caught wind of the story. And at the top, marked urgent, the formal summons, emergency board meeting tomorrow, 8:00 a.m. Unauthorized allocation of corporate resources. Ms. Morgan, it has come to our attention that significant company funds were redirected without proper authorization toward personal charitable endeavors. This represents a serious breach of fiduciary duty and corporate governance protocols. Your immediate presence is required to address these allegations. The board has additionally voted to freeze all discretionary spending pending investigation. William Chen, chairman of the board. Rachel read it 3 times, each word a carefully placed dagger. William had waited for this, her first sign of weakness, her first mistake. She opened her phone. 3 texts to Daniel, all unread. Please let me explain. This isn't what you think. Daniel, please. No response. The typing indicator never even appeared. Outside, Manhattan glittered with its usual indifference. 23 floors below, taxis honked, people hurried, the city churned forward. Rachel pressed her forehead against the cool glass. Somewhere out there, Daniel was putting Lily to bed. Somewhere, the other children from the tournament were still celebrating. Somewhere, the version of herself from this morning still believed she could have both worlds. Her laptop showed the company's stock price, down 2 points in after-hours trading. The whispers had already started. She pulled up her financial statements. Even if they fired her with cause, she had enough saved to survive 2 years. But Emily's medical expenses, her therapy, the specialized equipment, and now, no health insurance. Her phone rang. Not Daniel. Richard Brennan, her CFO. Rachel, what were you thinking? The marketing budget had flexibility, not for personal projects. William's calling for your head. He's got proxies lined up. The institutional investors are spooked. I can fix this. How? By returning the money? The damage is done. They're saying you've lost focus, that the merger's at risk because you're distracted by, he paused, by personal matters. Personal matters. Is that what Emily's happiness had become? Richard, I need allies tomorrow. Rachel. His silence said everything. Take the graceful exit. Negotiate severance. Don't let them make this ugly. He hung up. Rachel walked to Emily's room. Her daughter slept curled around the trophy, a smile still ghosting her lips. The walls displayed new decorations, team photos from practice, a banner Lily had made, Daniel's business card pinned prominently. Rachel knelt beside the bed, smoothing Emily's hair. "I'm so sorry, baby." Emily stirred but didn't wake. "I thought I could keep both worlds. I thought I was strong enough." Tears fell freely now. "I finally gave you something real, and now I'm going to lose it all. You'll hate me when you understand, when you realize Mommy destroyed everything because she didn't know how to choose." Emily's hand moved in sleep, reaching out. Rachel caught it, held it. "I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough sooner. Sorry I needed strangers to show me what you needed. Sorry I'm about to fail you again." The trophy gleamed in the nightlight's glow, solid, real, earned. Everything Rachel's empire wasn't. She kissed Emily's forehead, tasting salt from her own tears. "I love you more than all of it. I just learned too late." The boardroom smelled of leather and disappointment. Rachel arrived 15 minutes early, choosing her usual seat at the head of the mahogany table. One by one, the 12 board members filed in, avoiding eye contact like she carried something contagious. William Chen entered last, taking his time, savoring his moment. He'd waited 3 years for this. Let's dispense with pleasantries. He opened a folder thick with printouts. $47,000. That's what you diverted from marketing allocation without board approval. The marketing budget allows for community outreach for corporate initiatives, not personal ones. Margaret Torres, usually an ally, wouldn't meet her gaze. "You funded your daughter's basketball team. I funded a citywide tournament that generated positive press." "Stop." William's hand hit the table. "You used company resources for a personal relationship. Your daughter plays on that team. The league is run by—" He checked his notes with theatrical precision. "A Daniel Harper, with whom you've been seen multiple times outside professional settings. The accusation hung between them like smoke. The community engagement angle could have worked." Richard Brennan offered weakly. "If you'd followed protocol, filed proposals, got approval. Children were counting on this tournament." "Children?" William's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. "This is a Fortune 500 company, not Make-A-Wish. We have shareholders. We have a merger worth $2 billion hanging by a thread, and you're playing Mother Teresa?" Rachel straightened. "That tournament generated more authentic goodwill than any campaign we've run." "Authentic?" James Morrison finally looked at her, his expression arctic. "You want to discuss authentic? How about authentically following corporate governance? Authentically maintaining fiduciary duty?" 1 week. William closed the folder. "We'll hold the formal vote next Monday. I suggest you use that time to consider a dignified exit. Negotiate your severance. Protect what reputation you have left. And if I fight?" The room went silent. "Then we'll subpoena everything, every text with Mr. Harper, every receipt. Every moment you confused being CEO with being—" William paused, selecting his words like weapons. "A mother looking for playmates for her disabled daughter." Rachel stood. The chair scraped against marble. "My daughter's disability has nothing, doesn't it?" William's smile was reptilian. "You were untouchable until she got hurt. Now look at you. Emotional, compromised, weak." Rachel walked out, her heels marking each step like a countdown. The elevator doors hadn't closed before her phone exploded. 23 missed calls, 41 texts. She stepped into the lobby and into ambush. "Ms. Morgan, is it true you embezzled funds for disabled children?" "Rachel, are you using charity work to cover financial crimes? Did you steal from shareholders to fund your daughter's friends?" Microphones pressed close. Cameras flashed. Someone stepped on her foot. No comment. "Sources say you've been romantically involved with the league's director." No comment. "Is this why the Techron merger is stalling?" Rachel pushed through, security finally reaching her. But the damage was done. Every phone in the lobby was raised, recording, streaming, spreading her humiliation across the internet in real time. The car ride home took forever. Her phone rang constantly, reporters, board members, concerned friends who'd seen the news. She turned it off, then immediately turned it back on. What if Emily needed her? 3 texts from Daniel. Saw the news. This is exactly what I was afraid of. We need to talk. She called him from the car. He answered on the 4th ring. Daniel, you used us. His voice was flat, exhausted. The league, the kids. We were just good PR for your company. That's not true. Then why didn't you tell me about the corporate funds? Why make it sound like personal generosity when it was company money? I was trying to help. By lying? I never lied. Omission is lying, Rachel. I've had 3 reporters call me. They're asking if I knew I was dating someone under investigation for embezzlement. Dating? We're not, aren't we? Or was that part of the show too? The line went dead. Rachel stumbled into the penthouse to find Emily in the living room, still in her pajamas, watching the news on her tablet. Mom? Emily's face was blotchy with tears. They're saying you stole money. They're showing pictures of the tournament. Rachel dropped her bag, crossed to her daughter. Baby, I need to explain. They said you might go to jail. They said, Emily's breath hitched. They said the league might have to give back the equipment, that the tournament might not count. That's not going to happen, Lily texted. She said her dad won't let her come over anymore. Emily's tears fell faster. Everyone's going to leave again, aren't they? Just like before. I'm going to be alone again. Rachel pulled Emily into her arms, but her daughter felt rigid, distant. I'll fix this. How? Emily's voice was muffled against her shoulder. You can't make people like me. You couldn't before, even with all your money. And now, we won't even have that. Rachel had no answer. For the first time in her life, she had absolutely no answer. Emily's tablet buzzed with another news alert. CEO, Rachel Morgan. From boardroom to courtroom. Rachel held her daughter tighter, feeling her empire collapse around them. Each headline, another wall falling. All her power, all her control. Useless against a 10-year-old's breaking heart. I'm sorry, she whispered into Emily's hair. I'm so sorry. But sorry had never felt more worthless. The days blurred together like watercolors left in rain. Rachel stopped answering her phone on Tuesday. By Thursday, she'd disconnected the landline. The doorman had strict instructions. No visitors, no deliveries, except groceries. No exceptions. She worked from her home office, drafting resignation letters she couldn't send, reviewing legal documents she couldn't focus on. The merger was dead. Her career was dying. Everything she'd built over 15 years was crumbling, and she watched it fall from behind closed blinds. Emily rolled past her office sometimes, pausing at the door but never entering. Their meals together had become silent affairs. Rachel pushed food around her plate while Emily stared at hers. The league has practice tonight, Emily mentioned on Wednesday. Maybe next week. Lily asked if I was coming yesterday. What did you tell her? Nothing. Emily's fork clinked against her plate. What could I say? Thursday's attempt was quieter. Emily simply left her basketball jersey on Rachel's desk. Rachel found it hours later, neatly folded, the number 12 visible. She held it briefly, then placed it in a drawer. By Friday, Emily had stopped asking. Rachel discovered her that evening in the living room, wheelchair positioned by the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city stretched out below, millions of lights, creating constellations of human activity. Emily's reflection wavered in the glass, ghost-like. Sweetheart, it's past 9. Emily didn't turn. Can't sleep. Rachel approached slowly, noting the untouched homework on the coffee table, the television remote abandoned on the couch. Want to talk about it? About what? Emily's voice was distant, older somehow. About how everyone at school knows? About how Mrs. Chen looked at me with pity again? Or about how Lily's dad won't return your calls? Rachel flinched. She hadn't known Emily knew about the calls. Maybe, Emily's whisper barely disturbed the air, maybe people don't want me around. The words hit Rachel like physical blows. She gripped the back of the couch, knees suddenly weak. Emily, no, that's not, isn't it? Emily turned then, eyes bright with unshed tears. Before, They didn't come because I'm in this chair. Now they won't come because of what you did. Either way, I end up alone. What I did was try to help. By lying? By stealing? I didn't steal anything. I redirected funds that— Mom? Emily's interruption was gentle, exhausted. I'm 10, not stupid. You took money without asking. You got caught. Now everyone's mad. And I'm the weird girl with the criminal mom instead of just the weird girl in the wheelchair. Rachel sank onto the couch. Her daughter's words carried a terrible clarity, the kind that comes from too much hurt. I was trying to give you friends. You can't buy friends, Mom. Even I know that. They sat in silence, city lights blinking below like distant promises. Emily turned back to the window. Daniel was different, Emily whispered. He and Lily, they liked us for real. Now that's gone too. Rachel wanted to argue, to promise she'd fix everything, but the words died in her throat. She'd made those promises before, at the birthday party, at the tournament, every day since the accident. Empty words from someone who'd confused power with love. Later, after Emily had gone to bed, Rachel wandered the penthouse like a stranger in her own home. Every room felt hollow. The awards on her office wall looked like tombstones. The merger documents might as well have been written in ancient languages for all the sense they made. She found herself in the guest room they'd converted to storage. Boxes lined the walls, artifacts from the life before the accident, before the ambition consumed everything, before she'd forgotten who she used to be. Her husband's things occupied 3 boxes in the corner. She'd never unpacked them, couldn't bear to see his belongings mixed with her new life. Now she knelt beside them, peeling tape carefully, like an archaeologist uncovering buried treasures. His coffee mug, world's okayest dad, which always made him laugh. His reading glasses, one arm held with electrical tape. His Bible, leather-worn soft from daily handling. Rachel lifted the Bible, remembering how he'd read from it every morning, how she'd sometimes joined him before Emily woke up. Those quiet moments felt like scenes from someone else's life. She opened it randomly, finding a passage underlined in his careful hand. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? The margin held his notes. Remember this when the promotions come. Rachel needs reminding sometimes. Love her through it. Rachel's vision blurred. She pressed her palm against the page, feeling the indentations his pen had made. I forgot, she whispered to the empty room. I'm sorry, Michael. I forgot everything you taught me. She carried the Bible to her bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed she'd once shared with him. The words came haltingly at first, rusty from disuse. God, I don't know how to do this anymore. I used to pray. Michael taught me how. But I got so busy becoming someone important that I forgot being someone good was more important. Her voice cracked. My daughter thinks nobody wants her. She's right, I drove them away with my pride. Daniel saw through me. He knew I was using the league for appearances, even when I convinced myself otherwise. She clutched the Bible tighter. I don't want the company. I don't want the merger. I just want Emily to smile again. I want her to know she's valued. Not for what she achieves or overcomes, but just for being Emily. The prayer continued, words tumbling out like water through a broken dam. Years of suppressed faith, grief, and longing poured into the darkness. When she finished, silence settled around her like a blanket. Not empty silence, full somehow. Waiting. Rachel understood then what she had to do, not to save her position or salvage her reputation. Those concerns felt suddenly small, like looking at skyscrapers from an airplane. She had to act for Emily, for Daniel and Lily and those 50 children who'd transformed a disaster into joy, for the community that had embraced her daughter when her wealthy world rejected her. She had to tell the truth, all of it, publicly. Without calculation or strategy, she had to choose love over empire. Rachel opened her laptop, began typing. Not a resignation letter or legal defense, something harder, something real, a confession, an apology. A declaration. The city lights continued their eternal dance outside her window as Rachel began writing the speech that would either destroy her completely or set them all free. Rachel's hand trembled as she dialed Daniel's number. 3 rings. 4. She almost hung up when his voice came through, careful and distant. Rachel. Daniel. Please. I need aid. She stopped. Started again. I'm asking for one chance. To explain. To apologize properly. Not as CEO Rachel Morgan, just as Rachel. Silence stretched between them. She heard children laughing in the background, probably practice ending. Tomorrow morning. Mickey's Diner on 10th Street. 7:30. The line went dead. Mickey's Diner hadn't changed since the 50s cracked vinyl booths, flickering neon, coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Daniel sat in the back corner, baseball cap pulled low, nursing a black coffee. He didn't look up when she slid into the opposite seat. Thank you for coming. You have 10 minutes. Rachel nodded, wrapping her fingers around the warm mug the waitress placed before her. I've been running companies for 15 years. Before that, I ran marketing departments. Before that, I ran myself into the ground, trying to prove I belonged in boardrooms full of men who saw me as decoration. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. After Michael died, after the accident that put Emily in that chair, running things became my religion. Control meant safety. Success meant protection. I told myself everything I did was for Emily, the money, the power, the reputation, but somewhere along the way, I started believing my own performance. She met his eyes. When you showed up with those children, my first thought wasn't gratitude, it was calculation. How could I use this? How could I spin it? Even when I started really caring about the league, part of me was still performing, still managing optics. I know, Daniel said quietly. We all knew. The words stung, but Rachel absorbed them. The tournament was real, though. My feelings watching Emily score that basket, seeing her belong somewhere that was the most real I've been in years. And what I feel about you and Lily. Daniel's coffee mug paused halfway to his lips. I've made a decision. I'm stepping down as CEO, not temporarily. Permanently. Rachel, let me finish. I'm holding a press conference in 3 days. I'm going to tell the truth about everything. About how my daughter's wealthy classmates wouldn't come to her party. About how children with nothing gave her everything. About how chasing success cost me my soul. She leaned forward, but mostly I'm going to talk about those kids, their strength, their joy, how they deserve better than photo opportunities and charity drives that disappear when the cameras leave. Daniel set down his mug slowly. These kids don't need another CEO, Rachel. They don't need someone who'll write checks and show up for the big games. They need someone who'll stay when the equipment breaks, when they lose matches, when the world forgets them again. They need someone who'll be there next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that, and every Tuesday until they don't need anyone anymore. I know. Do you? Because in my experience, people like you, he caught himself, softened. People from your world make promises when they're emotional. Then real life starts again. Rachel pulled out her phone, showed him an email. I've already submitted my resignation, effective immediately after the press conference. I've liquidated my stock options. Half goes to a trust for Emily. The other half is founding capital for a nonprofit focused on adaptive sports programs. Daniel stared at the screen. You're serious? I'm done pretending to be someone I'm not. Done teaching Emily that power matters more than people. My daughter needs a mother, not a CEO. And those kids, her voice caught. Those kids saved us, Daniel. Emily was dying inside that penthouse, and I was too blind to see it. You all gave her life back. The least I can do is stay. Daniel's shoulders slowly relaxed. For the first time since sitting down, he really looked at her. Not the polished executive, but the woman beneath, tired, frightened, but finally honest. Tuesday practices start at 4. We'll be there. 3 days later, the Meridian Hotel's press room buzzed with confusion. Rachel Morgan, calling a press conference during merger negotiations, meant blood in the water. Reporters smelled scandal. Rachel stood at the podium, Emily beside her in her wheelchair. No prepared remarks, no teleprompter, just truth. 5 weeks ago, I threw my daughter a birthday party. No one came. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. No one came because my daughter is paralyzed, because children can be cruel, because their parents saw no advantage in their kids befriending mine. She found the cameras, spoke directly to them. That same day, a man I'd never met brought 50 children in wheelchairs to my home. They brought handmade cards and genuine joy. They taught my daughter to laugh again. Emily squeezed her hand. I tried to help them the only way I knew how, with money, influence, strategic planning. I treated their struggles like a business problem to solve. I was wrong. Rachel's voice strengthened. These children don't need corporate initiatives. They need consistent support. They need inclusive communities. They need people who see them as whole human beings, not inspiration porn or tax write-offs. Cameras flashed like strobes. Effective immediately, I'm resigning as CEO of Morgan Industries. I'm establishing the Michael Morgan Foundation for Adaptive Athletics. But more importantly, I'm choosing to be present, to show up, to stay. She looked down at Emily, whose face glowed with pride. My daughter taught me that success isn't measured in market caps or merger deals. It's measured in showing up for practice on Tuesday, in cheering until your voice goes hoarse, in choosing love over empire every single time. Rachel stepped back from the podium. For a moment, silence held the room. Then applause began, tentative at first, building to thunder. Reporters surged forward with questions, but Rachel only had eyes for Emily, who reached up to wrap her arms around her mother's waist. Through the crowd, Rachel glimpsed Daniel standing in the back doorway, Lily beside him in her wheelchair. He nodded once, slow and sure. Rachel Morgan, former CEO, had finally come home. The first call came during Rachel's drive home from the press conference, then another. By evening, her phone vibrated constantly with messages from business owners across the city. Ms. Morgan, this is Tony from Giuseppe's Pizza. Saw your speech. We'd like to sponsor team uniforms. Rachel, it's Margaret Chen from Chen Electronics. Count us in for new wheelchairs. The teachers at PS 147 took up a collection. It's not much, but Rachel pulled over, overwhelmed. Emily watched from the passenger seat as her mother wiped tears from her cheeks. Mom, they're calling to help. All of them. By morning, the story had transformed. The headlines that screamed, CEO diverts funds, now read, Mother's courage inspires city. The video of Rachel's speech went viral, shared with comments like, finally, someone real, and this is what leadership looks like. At Tuesday's practice, Rachel barely recognized the gym. New equipment lined the walls, donated by a sporting goods chain whose owner had a nephew with cerebral palsy. A professional photographer volunteered to create team photos. 3 physical therapists arrived, offering their services free of charge. But the biggest surprise came when a group of children from Emily's school walked through the doors. Madison, the girl who'd thrown Emily's invitation in the trash, approached slowly. Her mother nudged her forward. Emily, we saw everything on the news. About your birthday, about your mom. Madison's voice shook. I'm sorry. We were mean and stupid, and can we watch you play? Emily glanced at Rachel, then at Lily, who nodded encouragement. You can do more than watch. Grab a ball. For the next hour, Emily's classmates learned to pass and shoot alongside the league kids. Some struggled with the unfamiliar movements, others picked it up quickly. But all of them saw Emily differently, not as the girl in the wheelchair, but as the girl who could sink 3-pointers while moving at full speed. Rachel worked the donation table with other parents, sorting through offers of equipment, venue space, and volunteer hours. She'd traded her designer suits for jeans and a league t-shirt, her manicured nails now chipped from assembling new basketball hoops. Daniel moved between the courts, coaching both groups of kids with equal patience. When Madison's shot finally went in, he celebrated like she'd won the championship. When one of his regular players helped a newcomer with their form, he made sure everyone saw the kindness. As practice wound down, parents arrived to collect their children. Madison's mother approached Rachel tentatively. "Ms. Morgan, I owe you an apology. When you invited Madison to Emily's party, I made excuses. I thought," she paused, ashamed, "I thought it would be awkward. That Madison wouldn't know how to act. I was the one who didn't know how to act." Rachel touched her arm gently. "We're all learning. What matters is that you're here now." More parents lingered, asking about volunteer opportunities, practice schedules, upcoming tournaments. The league that had struggled for years with barely enough kids to form teams now had a waiting list. As the gym emptied, Rachel helped Daniel stack chairs. They worked in comfortable rhythm, no words needed. Emily and Lily practiced free throws at the far end, their laughter echoing. The hardware store wants to build wheelchair ramps at the outdoor courts, Rachel mentioned, and the radio station offered free advertising for our spring tournament. Daniel paused, studying her. Gone was the polished executive who'd first entered his gym. This woman had calluses on her hands and joy in her eyes. "You know what you've done, don't you? Helped raise money?" "No." He moved closer. "You've shown them it's okay to care. These business owners, these parents, they wanted to help but didn't know how. You gave them permission to try. You gave me permission first. That day at Emily's party, you showed me what really mattered." They stood close now, close enough that Rachel could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. "You've found a new way to lead, Rachel. Not from boardrooms or podiums, but from beside people. With them." His hand brushed hers as he reached for another chair. The touch lasted only a second, but warmth spread through Rachel's chest. Neither pulled away, neither spoke. But both felt the shift subtle as a season changing, certain as sunrise. "Mom, did you see that?" Emily called out. "I made 5 in a row." The moment passed, but its promise lingered. Daniel smiled, not his public smile for the kids or parents, but something private, meant only for Rachel. Over the following weeks, the transformation continued. The league grew from 50 kids to nearly 200. Corporate sponsors competed to support tournaments. Emily's school started an inclusion program, with league kids visiting to teach wheelchair sports. Rachel worked 18-hour days, but unlike her CEO years, she never felt drained. Every morning brought new challenges: equipment logistics, volunteer coordination, permit applications, but also new joys. A child's first basket, a parent's grateful tears. Daniel's quiet presence beside her through it all. One evening, as they locked up the gym, Daniel caught her hand. Not accidentally this time, but deliberately, gently. "Rachel." She turned, their fingers still intertwined. "The kids see it, the parents see it. Even Lily and Emily are making plans." "Plans?" "They've decided we should all go to the beach this summer, as a family." The word hung between them, fragile and profound. Rachel squeezed his hand, feeling the calluses that matched her own now. "I'd like that." They stood in the empty gym where everything had changed, where lonely birthdays became celebrations, where corporate ambition became community service, where two broken people found wholeness in serving others. Neither rushed to name what grew between them, but both knew that some transformations, like the best victories, were worth the wait. The community center gym hummed with life. Handmade banners stretched across the walls, "Happy 11th Birthday, Emily," painted in crooked letters by small hands. Basketball hoops wore streamers like carnival prizes. The scoreboard flashed "Emily's Day" in bright red letters that Tommy from the league had programmed himself. Rachel stood near the entrance, greeting families as they arrived. No caterers this time. Parents had brought homemade dishes: Mrs. Chen's dumplings, the Johnsons' mac and cheese, Daniel's famous chili that the kids begged for after every practice. "Ms. Morgan." Madison wheeled up, holding a gift wrapped in newspaper comics. "I made Emily something in art class." Rachel hugged her, remembering the girl who'd once been too afraid to enter this gym. The space transformed throughout the morning. Kids practiced shots at one hoop while others raced their chairs in the cleared center court. Parents sat on bleachers sharing coffee and stories. No hired entertainers performed, the children made their own fun. Emily held court near the free throw line, surrounded by friends. Real friends, kids who knew what it meant to be stared at in grocery stores, to watch playgrounds from the sidelines, to prove every day that different didn't mean less. "Remember when you couldn't even dribble?" Lily teased, stealing the ball. "Remember when you cried because I beat you at horse?" Emily shot back, laughing. Their teammates joined in, recreating famous league moments. The time Marcus's wheel fell off mid-game, when Sarah scored on the wrong basket, when Coach Daniel slipped on a wet spot and landed flat on his back, then jumped up claiming he meant to do that. Rachel watched from the sidelines, her chest tight with emotion. These weren't hired guests or obligation attendees. Every person here chose to come, chose to celebrate, chose to belong to this makeshift family they'd built from wheelchairs and determination. "You okay?" Daniel appeared beside her, carrying a tray of juice boxes. "More than okay." She helped him distribute drinks, their movements synchronized from months of working together, setting up tournaments, running practices, building something that mattered. "Emily seems happy," he observed. "She is. We both are." The previous year felt like another lifetime. The penthouse was sold, replaced by a modest apartment near the community center. Her designer wardrobe lived in donation bins now. The merger that would have made her millions went to another firm. She'd never been richer. "Time for presents," someone called out. Emily rolled to a table stacked with gifts, but not the expensive electronics and designer items from before. These were personal hand-knit scarves, custom wheelchair-spoke decorations, a team photo signed by everyone with inside jokes scrawled in the margins. Peter, one of the newest league members, wheeled forward shyly. "My mom helped me make this." He handed Emily a scrapbook filled with newspaper clippings about the league, photos from tournaments, and a story he'd written about finding friends who understood. Emily hugged him fiercely. "It's perfect." More gifts followed. Art supplies from her old classmates who now attended league art workshops. A basketball signed by a professional wheelchair athlete who'd heard their story. A world's best friend trophy from Lily that was clearly homemade and absolutely precious. Rachel's gift came last, new team jerseys for everyone, with "Morgan's Warriors" printed on the back. "Mom, you didn't. The league voted on the name. Apparently, you're quite the captain." The kids cheered, immediately pulling jerseys over their clothes, comparing numbers, already planning their next victory. "Cake time," Daniel announced, wheeling in a massive sheet cake from the kitchen. It wasn't professionally decorated. The frosting was uneven, the letters slightly smudged. Lily had insisted on adding approximately 300 candles because Emily deserves them all. As Daniel set the cake on the table, the gym lights dimmed. Someone started singing "Happy Birthday," and 200 voices joined in: kids, parents, volunteers, the maintenance man who always stayed late so they could practice, the social worker who'd first told Daniel about a lonely girl's birthday party. Rachel's throat closed with tears. She felt Daniel's hand find hers in the dim light, steady and sure. Emily closed her eyes to make a wish, but then opened them again. "I don't need to wish for anything. It's all here." She blew out the candles to thunderous applause. As cake was served chocolate with vanilla frosting, Emily's favorite Rachel stood with her new family. Not the family of blood or law, but the family chosen through struggle and joy, defeat and victory. "Thank you," she whispered to Daniel. "For what?" "For showing up that day. For bringing hope when I didn't know I needed it. You showed up too. Every practice, every game, every challenge. You stayed. Emily and Lily rolled over, cake smearing their faces, jerseys already stained with frosting. Mom, Lily and I want to start a mentorship program for new kids who join, so they're never alone. We'll teach them everything, Lily added. Basketball, confidence, how to pop wheelies safely. Definitely not that last one, Daniel interrupted, but his smile was proud. They talked and planned while the party continued around them. Kids played, parents connected, the maintenance man snuck a second piece of cake. Rachel looked at the scene, her daughter glowing with purpose, Daniel steady beside her, Lily already listing training drills, the gym full of people who'd become family. She'd once measured success in stock prices and profit margins. Now she measured it in Emily's laughter, in Daniel's quiet strength, in every child who entered these doors knowing they belonged. The empire she'd built had crumbled. But from its ashes rose something unshakable: love that didn't depend on mergers, belonging that couldn't be bought, purpose that no board could vote away. As the party wound down and families began to leave, each stopping to hug Emily and thank Rachel, she understood the truth. She hadn't lost anything that mattered. She'd finally found it. If you enjoyed the story, I handpicked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.